about every single component like capsids. All viruses have capsids, as I told you earlier, protein coat that enclose all the and protect the nucleic acid of the virus. And the capsid together with the nucleic acid is known as nucleocapsid. And as you can see in both these pictures, this is the nucleic acid. You can see either it can be DNA or RNA, doesn't matter. But this is the capsid. This icosahedron structure is the capsid, both occasion. But in some occasion, maybe this icosahedron is the last layer. There is no other envelope, so it is naked virus. So naked nucleocapsid virus, and some other occasion enveloped virus where we have the capsid and it is covered by the envelope, and the envelope may or may not carry spikes. Okay, for few viruses the envelope protrudes some spikes out, and some other viruses there are no spike. Instead of the spike, there is the very other protein components that are present in the envelope. Okay, but generally this spike help them to interact with their host cell surface and adherence, and start to get engulfed and inserted into the host cell. Okay, and in each capsid is made of identical protein subunits known as capsomeres. Okay, so the capsomeres are the protein subunits which are linked with one another, stitched to one another to form the icosahedron structure. Now there are two structural capsid types available, helical and icosahedral, two different capsid types that are present. Now the helical and icosahedral, the difference between the two, if we look at here, that the helical are tobacco mosaic virus, one example, and icosahedral is the one that we studied here. Okay, polio virus that we discussed earlier, polio virus, herpes simplex virus, parvovirus, those one. Okay. Icosahedral contains 20 sides with 12 corners, so it's a complex geometrical shape, where helical structure is just made up with protein subunits. They are present in stack of one another like a helical coil, inside of which the genetic material is present. Okay, and there are complex virus like bacteriophage, which contains the capsid, that is the protein seed, the protein head, and tail, and there's a spike and the attachment plate. All these things are present, and inside the capsid head the genetic material is present. Now if you think about the viral envelope, we have talked about the capsid. Capsid is a must for a virus because it is the primary protective envelope, primary protective structure for a virus. But in some viruses there are envelope, external membrane that is present outside. So most of the animal viruses have this envelope surrounding the capsid layer itself, so occurred when the virus leaves the host cell. Generally this capsid is formed due to the modified version of the cell membrane of the host itself. So let's assume that this is the host cell, and if this is let's say the virus, and the virus is taking a part of the vesicle out, and once they bulge out from the host, a portion of the cell membrane from the host cell is captured, and that becomes the envelope. And that envelope, as we know, the host cell surface contains many receptors and other protein molecules. So that's why that envelope of the virus contains many of those cell surface protein structures known as the spikes. Okay, so made up of many identical protein subunits, it protects the genetic material, may be involved in cell entry as well as cell exit, because once they have this envelope, now next time when this virus is going to attack another host, the fusion becomes a lot easier, because now the host cell surface is a cell membrane, made up with phospholipid membrane. Now this envelope is also made up with similar phospholipid component, so they can interact quite well and the fusion can be facilitated even faster. Okay. Now this is another thing. Envelope, as I said, that located outside of the capsid, and as I said, it is occurred during the viral maturation. So you think about this picture, you can see that this is the genetic material inside, capsid preventing the genetic material, okay, composed of many protein subunit known as capsomeres, and the envelope outside may or may not contain spike, but they are mostly made during the maturation. That means while the virus is going out, the virus is coming out of the host, okay, and it is facilitating this virus to attack another healthy host, okay, and the spikes help this virus to specifically bind to their target tissue and infect it. Now what are the functions of capsid and envelope? I just mentioned about it. The capsid protects the nucleic acid material from external damage, okay, and the envelope helps the virus to fuse with another healthy host, and also it has some role in tissue specificity if the envelope contains spike. Now the complex viruses like bacteriophage or pox viruses. Why we call them complex virus? Particularly if you look at bacteriophage, this is bacteriophage. Why we call it complex? Because this virus, they don't have any particular geometrical shape. They have icosahedral head, they have a very thin collar, and they have a helical sheath, and they also have a base plate. Tail fibers are attached to it, so it's very complex with multiple components, okay. That's why we call them complex virus, because they have multiple components all together. While pox virus lacks the typical capsid and are covered by a dense layer of lipoprotein only. Think about it. Instead of having those complex protein subunits known as the capsomeres, they are only covered by dense layer of lipoproteins. So there is a lipoprotein layer only for pox virus. Now it's all about, we've talked about that envelope and capsid. But what about the core? The core part of a virus, which definitely is required. Without this part, the virus is not virus itself, is the nucleic acid, the makeup, and the makeup of the nature of virus itself. Viral genome can be either DNA or RNA, but can never be both. It can be either DNA or RNA. Unlike animals and plants, we have DNA, RNA both. Genetic material is the DNA, but RNA is also found to carry the message. But in virus, they have either DNA or RNA, not the both. They carry genes necessary to invade the host cell, and then simply they redirect cell's activity to make new viruses. So the virus's job is not to do everything on its own. That's why virus is very simple and very lightweight and very small, because they don't need to carry proteins inside the cell. They have protein coat outside, but they don't need to carry enzymes, because what they will do, once they infect and attack a host, they will hijack the host machinery of protein synthesis, and they will produce the necessary proteins they need to get multiplied and to get spread. Number of genes varies for each type of virus. Few to hundreds. Okay. Now, if we compare between two different type of virus, DNA viruses usually double-stranded but maybe single-stranded. Now, the DNA can be either circular or linear. We will talk about the example later. RNA viruses obviously are single-stranded, maybe double-stranded, maybe segmented into separated RNA pieces. Single-stranded RNA genome ready for immediate translation are positive sense RNA. They are known as positive sense when the single-stranded RNA is immediately ready for the translation process. And single-stranded RNA that must be converted into a proper form are known as negative sense RNA. Because when we studied the transcription, we've talked about the sense strand of the RNA, antisense strand of the RNA, right? Coding strand, non-coding strand. But in this case, this idea is little different. In case of virus and viral infection, virus is carrying RNA. If that RNA is completely ready to be translated, we call it a positively sense or positive sense RNA. But if the RNA needs to be converted, that means, if that RNA acts as a template to make another RNA, and that another RNA is translated into proteins, then the earlier RNA is known as negative sense. That means positive sense RNA can only be converted into proteins. Negative sense RNA needs to be converted into positive sense RNA first and then converted into proteins. Another very important thing is host range and specificity. You can see this picture animation in the left hand side here. Host range and specificity is another very important property of virus. Virus has its specific host range. It can be narrow or it can be broad. Generally, virus host range is narrower than a bacterial host range because they can only attack a particular type of host. This is known as tissue tropism. Like in case of plants, we know gravitropism, phototropism. So similarly for viruses, we have tissue tropism. That means a virus, one particular virus, hepatitis B, infects liver. So it is specific to infect liver cells. So even if you try and check whether this virus infect other part of the cell, you try it with a cell line. If you provide liver cell, then only you will see the virus to be thriving. Okay.